important. It's important for you to let everybody know what you do. I mean, I raised 7 kids in a 2-bedroom apartment. So if I didn't have that friend to tell me that I could buy a home, I probably would still be in that apartment.
Welcome back to the Crossover Podcast. My name is Danae Marquez, and I am the designated broker of HomePros Advantage, and I'm here with my co-host, Josh Marquez, designated broker of HomePros, and today we are here with a special guest who is very familiar in the real estate world, Gloria from First Integrity. How are you, Gloria?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me here today.
Yeah, so we have a couple questions to ask you here, but before we begin, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So a little bit about myself. I've been in the industry, in the title industry for 23 years. I did a little bit of title for a few years, meaning helping the title examiners print the documents so they would examine the property. And then I went into the recording, did recording for a little bit, and then they pulled me into the escrow world. So then I ended up helping the escrow officers, and then for a couple, like 2 years. And then from there, I became an escrow officer. So I did escrow for about 7 years. And then when the market shift, then I ended up going into the, kind of started all over again. And then I ended up going into the marketing department. So that was a little tough in the beginning because I didn't really understand all that. I loved doing the escrow. But when I ended up doing the marketing and understanding what the agents were doing, then I loved doing it because I loved helping them grow their business. So my job was to help them grow business, how to get leads, help them with phone numbers, emails, the postcards, marketing themselves, how to brand themselves. So that's what I do now, is help them grow their business.
Right.
Nice. So you've been 23 years in the business.
Yes.
So you have seen the ups and downs of the market.
Yep, and you just have to go with the shifts of the market. So either the business comes in easy, and then you go through the times where you're really having to make those calls and go out there and knock on those doors.
Now, in those 23 years, because I'm always intrigued by that, the whole scenario of being a real estate agent, and why so many agents fail. You know, I'm pretty sure you have known a lot of people in the business coming in and out. People that 20 years ago are no longer in business. People that started and, they left, after a couple of years. And people that we have remained in the business for 20 plus years. So in your experience, what is one of the things that you say agents fail at doing when it comes to marketing?
I think they get used to where when they get the real estate license, they reach out to their family members. So then it's easy, right? Because now they're calling their family members and they're getting the business that way. But once they've reached all their family members and helped them purchase homes, they forget that they have to reach out to their family members, friends, and reach out to the community, actually market themselves, because they're used to people coming to them. And then when the market shifts, they don't know how to handle it. They don't know how to reach out to people that they don't know. And I think that's where a lot of agents make the mistake that they get used to having their family members help them out, and they're not actually reaching out to everybody around them, their neighbors, going out to events, meeting people. I think it's so important for all of us, right? Because we're not just going to get business sitting there. We have to go out there and meet people, talk to people, and let them know every time you're talking to somebody, let them know what you're doing. Because even your family members forget that you're an agent. And so if you're not out there posting, if you're not out there marketing, if you're not calling your family members too, letting them know what you do, you're losing a lot of business. I want your business, but I also want to earn your business by helping you grow your business. So if you need somebody to go out there door knocking or making those calls, we'll do a Wednesday workshop where we're making those calls with you, because I want to see what you guys are experiencing. So I know it's not easy for you guys to bring in the business. So I want to experience what you guys are going through, so then I could teach the next person, the next agent. When they're struggling, I want to know what your struggles are so I could help the next person.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the reasons, that when I saw everything you were doing for the agents, I'm like, well, I want my agents to be with someone that is able to help them, not just close the deal, which is important, your team closing the deal and
Yeah.
dealing with situations. And Danae is going to ask you some questions about title right now. But ultimately, that a marketing rep is actually helping them grow and, finding what they need. And sometimes agents need encouragement. Sometimes agents need, like for instance, I can go door knocking, but for me, it's easier to door knock if I go with someone else. Sometimes going by myself
Yeah.
feels like intimidating, like, oh, like I'm there by myself. But if I go with another agent or go with more people, have no problem, doing that.
Well, I think it's important for people to work at the right brokerage, work with the right title rep, because sometimes we go through emotions, right? Sometimes I have my feelings like, gosh, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing everything I can do to help the agent? Like I feel sometimes like, gosh, I don't know what what can I do more to help? And I think the agents go through those emotions too. Like, is this really what I should be doing? But we all go through those feelings, and I think that we are here to help each other out because we're all going to have those up and downs. Like we're not doing everything that we can do. But if we work with somebody, go walk with somebody, we're going to help that person get out of that mood because we all have our moods. Especially as women, we go through different moods.
Yes.
and I could say the guys do too, but we all need somebody there to encourage us because we could be listening to music, we could listen to Audible, we could something, but sometimes we need that person to uplift us. And I think if you're with the right person, the right team, you're going to have those moments, but your partner's going to help you get out of that sticky feeling that you're having that you don't want to do it anymore. Because I know this is my passion. I love what I do, but I do have my moments like, gosh, like what can I do better? And I know the agents go through that too. So I think it's important for you to find a group of people that you're working with and each other uplift each other and give ideas. Because that's what I love doing in our classes. Like I appreciate you for doing the classes with me. And I love the workshops that we're doing on Wednesdays because we're there to help the agents get in that mood and go out there and bring in new business.
Exactly. And that's also, part of my job as a broker. I cannot do all the work for them, but like you said, giving them ideas. Okay, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? What if you do this, it might work. And some of the agents, once you talk to them and give them ideas and it works, they come back and like, oh yeah, thank you for, for that advice. I did what you told me and I got a new client or I got these or so I think that the group that you are surrounded with, it's important, as far as, going with you to the office and they're doing the classes, it's always uplifting for me because you guys are always, your team is always in a good mood. It's always,
Yes, it's important to surround yourself by people that are in a good mood, that are going to uplift you. But we can advise all day long, right, Josh? We could tell them what to do, but if they don't do the work, they're not going to grow. So if you're asking for help, believe me that I'm going to try to help you the best way that I can, but you have to also do the work.
Yeah.
And I know that's probably one of the questions you were going to ask, like, what do I see that my escrow officers struggle with? Sometimes we have the agent, we know they're going to answer our calls, but we do have those agents that don't answer our calls. And a lot of times we need the information. We need the phone numbers to the buyer or the seller. But it's so important for our agents to answer the calls, no matter who's calling them, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's key. That's key. And that's why I'll almost stuck to my phone. Right now it's on Do Not Disturb just for the podcast. But, my phone is always on, and always try to answer the phone because it's business. It's money going down the drain if you don't answer the phone,
Especially when you're marketing. If you're going to send out those postcards, and that's one of the things I say, if I'm going to help you with the postcard and you're going to do a mailer, be ready to answer those calls. So I've seen plenty of times where we send out mailers and the agents don't answer their calls. And I'm like, don't waste your money if you're not going to answer your call because you don't recognize the number.
And then you don't answer.
You don't answer. You just missed an opportunity.
Yeah, no, I answered, all those scammers that call you all day. I try to answer all of them, because some of those I have received those calls with a number that is out of state. And then eventually, I don't want to answer it, but then I answer. And then, it's someone that, hey, I'm in this state and I'm looking at houses in Arizona. Me and my family are trying to move there. Can you? So, of course,
you have to answer.
You have to answer.
Yeah, because I've gotten calls from out of state, and I'm like, who's calling me out of state? It has to be a scammer. But no, it's an agent that actually lives here, but they have an out-of-state number.
So when it comes to protecting your property and planning for the future, there are a few options that people often hear about, like title insurance, beneficiary deeds, and putting property in a trust. Can you break each one of those down and maybe talk a little bit about each of them?
And so I get calls, even from my agents, like I'll get calls from people like, why title insurance? Why do we have to pay for title insurance? Like I heard we don't have to pay title insurance. It's so important to have title insurance because you can buy a home off of your relative or the neighbor, but when you sign over that quitclaim deed and now that property becomes yours, well, without title insurance, now if that person owed a tax lien or a child support, now you just consume their debt, because if you want to sell your house, you have to pay off their tax lien or their child support lien. So that's why it's important to have insurance, because what we do on our end, which our examiners do, is they're like investigators. We're gonna open up that escrow. We're gonna search the property, make sure that there's no tax liens, no judgments, no child support liens. So when you do buy that property, it's free and clear. So it is very important to have title insurance. It is so easy to say, hey, Danae, sell me your house and I'll give you cash. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if you have any liens on the property. I don't know if you were in a car accident and you didn't have no insurance on your car. Well, whatever you owe, now I owe, because I just purchased your property without title insurance.
Ouch. Yeah.
So the other things that I've seen were, and when I did escrow a lot, like my client would come to me and say, well, what if I pass away? I want my daughter to own the house. I want my son to own the house. Well, we're going to do what you ask us to do. And that was when I did escrow. But now we're not allowed to do that. We refer you to a person that does the title deeds and that. But you have to know, if you're going to quitclaim your son or daughter or brother or sister into title, that if they have any judgments that appear, let's say if they have a child support lien or any kind of judgments, now you acquired their debt. So when you want to sell that property, you're going to have to pay your son's child support lien. So it's important to talk to the right person to do a trust or maybe a beneficiary deed is the best thing that you could do to protect yourself on the property. Because if you pass away and you do a beneficiary deed, now your son or daughter become owners of that property without you being in trouble and taking their debt if they
or going to probate.
Probate.
Which is,
you don't have to do probate or anything like that. It automatically will go into their.
Right, but I was explaining to her, but the benefit is, one of the benefits I believe is, that let's say, if she crashes a car,
yes,
she's not the owner, the legal owner of that property yet. So therefore, they cannot attach any liens to that property because it's not hers.
It's not hers.
Until I pass away, then that property, becomes hers. But then at that point, whatever lawsuit is no longer in there because, it was gifted after the fact of the accident.
Exactly.
So, it's a couple of things. Of course, we're not attorneys, but we try to, guide the clients to the best.
And we could direct them to the person that could help them with the beneficiary deed or a trust. We work with a lot of people that can help them. So if they need any help, they could call you or call me, and we could give them information to do a beneficiary deed or a trust.
What's one thing that you wish more real estate agents understood about title?
The title commitments. I think it's so important. Like, there's so many with the classes that we're doing. Like, I realize that the agents don't really look at the title commitments. They'll glance at them, but they don't really know what's on there, and they don't understand how many judgments. And then when it comes to closing, they're like, why aren't we closing? Why aren't we closing? Well, we've been asking for ID statements. We've been asking for, and a lot of times we reach out to the clients, and I don't say I say my escrow officers, when they reach out, they'll call me sometimes to tell me, hey, Gloria, the agent's not answering. Can you reach out to them? Because they're not giving us information that we need to clear any judgments. And it may not be their judgment, but since there's so many common Latino last names, or Smiths, or Vasquez, or Gonzalez, like, it may not be that person, but that's why we need them to look at the title commitment, reach out to us if they see that there's any judgments, or because it'll say on there that we need an ID statement filled out. So if they would help us with that immediately, it would make the closing so much easier.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think that is the most that I see that I get calls from my escrow officers like, Gloria, maybe you could reach out. Maybe they'll take your call because they don't look at the title commitment and they don't realize that there could be an issue at time of closing.
I remember years back when I started, when I barely started real estate, you used to get title commitments. Now you get everything on PDF, but you used to get those packages and they would be sent to the office, to my office. And I remember, I didn't know, it was my first, second transaction. And, when the package arrives, it's like, oh, that's yours, Josh. And I got the big package. And I remember, what is it?
What is it?
And then one of the agents jokingly, he's like, yeah, that's part of our job. You have to read through all the pages. And I really thought he was being serious, so I'm like, dang, like, I didn't know that I had to go through all these pages. And then he explained, like, no, actually, you just have to, look in here. These pages are the ones that you have to look at.
Well, like when I did recording, the one that was training me, she said, this is your Bible. I'm like, what? She goes, you better read this, look at it, because you cannot record unless we have everything that's paid off. Like, because so you have to look at each requirement and make sure that the escrow officer said paid or not paid. Or so I had to look at that and make sure, because if I recorded that deed of trust, then I was recording, I didn't make sure that lien was paid off. So I had to be really careful, and I had to look at that title commitment. So it's important for our agents to learn those title commitments.
Nice.
Because it just will help us smoother transaction at the end. So then you're not stressing out, and we're not stressing out at the time of closing.
Yeah. We make a requirement in the company to have the title commitment uploaded to the system, and just to go through it. You don't have to read the whole thing, but there's key points in there that you have to read and make sure that you know what you're facing, and if there's going to be any delays, why, or as the documentation, especially right now with the solar panels.
Yes.
Like some of the people don't know if they have a lien or they don't have a lien. Like, I don't know, I just signed the papers and I don't know. And then, well, there's a lien in the property for those solar panels in there. So now either you're going to pay them or what's going to happen with that. And some other ones, people is like, I bought solar panels, for instance, but there's no lien attached to it. I'm like, okay. So there's a few things that, agents have to look for, just to make the transaction easier.
And that's what our examiners do. They just make sure that when you're going to go purchase a property, that is free and clear. So that's our job, to make sure that our title insurance is covering every area where you buy that property, and it's free and clear.
Now, when you transfer the title, is that title insurance over? Like, let's say, I got title insurance when I purchased my property, and then I want to do a warranty deed to my daughter, for instance.
Well, then you're messing with the title insurance. Once you quit claim somebody onto that property, you voided that title insurance.
Title insurance, yeah.
Is what I was told.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Because you're paying, when you pay for that title insurance, we're doing the search to make sure the property's free and clear. So we're ensuring that to you the way you took over title. But once you go over there and mess with it and put another person on title, then it kind of voids that title insurance.
Right, because it messes with the chain of title now. It's a new owner on the property.
It's a new owner. So we didn't do any searches or anything on the new owner.
That's why many title companies stopped accepting quit claim deeds.
Yep.
Because I remember years back, 2007, 2008, we were quit claim deeding everything. Like, just... And then at some point, I remember some title companies saying like...
Yeah, because you're just voiding that title insurance now. And they'll come back at us, well, you did the quit claim deed. Well, that's why we're no longer allowed to do that, because we're insuring the way you took title. But if you come back to us to do another quitclaim, we're not insuring it at that time.
Right. Interesting.
So at what point does title actually become a part of the transaction? So when do you guys get involved?
Once you open up escrow.
Like right in the beginning?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Once we get the earnest money and we open up that escrow, now our examiners are starting to search the property, making sure who owns the property. The information you guys gave us, they're checking to see if those are the correct owners on the property, and then what liens are on there. So that's when title insurance. That's when we're investigating it. So once it closes, that's where you're insured on the property, because we've already viewed it to make sure that all the liens were paid, if there was any liens.
Yeah.
So what would be, you know, 'cause, yeah, I know there is a lot of fraud going around right now, especially with land, because, you know, like, you know, it's a land in the middle of nowhere, you know, so someone calls you online. So what would be something, let's say, I know we were saying like, okay, well, you need to come to the office, but what if someone calls me from, you know, it's like, oh, I am in Kentucky and I want to sell, you know, 10 pieces of land that I own in Arizona. Um, what do you ask? What should me as an agent ask if he cannot come?
I would probably send a certified letter
Okay.
to their home and make sure they are actually selling their property. Just say, hey, I'm just want to make sure that you are selling this property. You know, send a certified letter if it's somebody that can't meet you in person.
Right.
And what is
Because
the
that's what happened to us. We actually sent the certified letter, and he called back and told us that no, he was not selling his property.
Right.
But so it made sense when they were trying to get him in to sign. He always had an excuse that he couldn't come in.
But did he provide like IDs and everything?
He
like,
provided that to the agent, an ID. So I don't know how they. I mean, he must figure out how to get a fake ID, but he did provide that to the agent. So the agent thought it was legit, the owner. But at the time when we were trying to reach out to get him to come and sign, he kept on making excuses or he wouldn't answer the calls.
So, but how do they go about notarizing the documents? Like, for instance, you get that seller that is out of state. Do they send a notary?
Well, they could do RON signings. They could do all kinds. So, I mean, even the RON signing, I mean, it would have been hard because you have to be live on the RON signing. But it didn't get that far because he kept on having excuses why he couldn't come in and sign. But that's where my escrow officer, Carolyn, she knew something wasn't right
What's off?
and talked to the manager, and they ended up sending a certified letter realizing
was
something
not
was
the
not
guy.
right.
Yeah.
So it's just do a little bit more
So in
investigation.
a situation like that, who would be to blame? Let's say you sell, you record. Will the title be to blame? The agent be to blame, or everybody will? Everybody could be in a massive lawsuit in there because of the.
Well, I've never had to go through that situation, so I'm just glad that my escrow officer caught it on time. But I'm sure it's a title loss. It's a loss for everybody.
Have you ever dealt with a wire fraud or any of that stuff with?
I
arrest
have not,
deposits
but
and
I've heard of a couple issues. So on the wire, and I don't do escrow anymore, and I've been out of it. But I do know just by hearing that, make sure you call the escrow officer when you're getting an email. Make sure it's from the person. Verify. Call your escrow officer. If you're getting an email with the wire instructions, always verify with your escrow officer. And our escrow officers do, when we send out the information, we call and verify with them and let them know. So if they don't hear from the escrow officer, please reach out to them. Don't just send the wire because you got an email. Reach out to the escrow officer. Let them know you got the wire instructions. Give them the wire information before you send any money. Because once you send that money, it's a loss.
It's gone. Yeah, I've heard a couple of situations like that, and basically, yeah, the police gets involved and the FBI and all that stuff, but the money's gone.
The money's gone.
The money's gone. Like once it transferred, that's the end of it.
Yeah, that's why it's important. Like, we need all the information from your buyer, from your seller, phone number. When we're trying to reach out to you, like, we just ask the agents to answer their calls because it's important for us to get those files closed.
Yeah.
For the buyer, for the seller, because then if the agents don't answer, we're the ones that look bad because it came to us. So.
Yeah, and there's a lot of agents like that they don't. We're dealing with one right now that I had to call him because he would not answer the calls to my agents, and I had to call him and tell him like, hey, dude, like, this is the situation. You either call me back or I'm gonna call your broker because I need answers and I need them now. And not like he responded right away, but like at night, he's like, oh yeah, I got your voicemail and your text message, and I'm working on it. This is the situation. I'm like, what's so hard about it? If you're a part-time agent, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, let us
hire
know.
an assistant.
Exactly.
Hire someone to answer your calls. Like you're making a lot of money into that transaction. Serve your clients well by answering the phone, or have someone to help you. I'm sure anyone will help you at TC, like $450 you pay them a month per transaction, and they will be able to help you with all the documents, and I don't have to be chasing you down. So yeah, it's a big problem in the industry that agents do not answer.
They don't answer their calls, and
Yeah.
I think that's what we run into a lot, like where the other agent's not answering their calls.
Yeah.
And so then it makes us look bad because they think we're trying not to close a file. We want to close a file,
Right.
but
Right.
we just don't have the information sometimes.
Yeah. Maybe there's a lot of agents with a lot of money that they don't care about closing deals.
Right?
I want to close them sooner if possible.
Yeah, and it's not just agents; it's loan officers sometimes
Oh my
too.
gosh.
And then
Yes.
when both don't answer, it's like,
Oh my gosh.
what's going on? Like,
Yeah, that's why for me, like with Gloria, it's always been important, that she answers the phone and Caroline answers the phone. And,
Yeah.
and I'm not a pest, I try not to call. If I can wait, I'll have it wait. But if it's something that I think is important, I call and I text and, I don't expect an immediate answer. I just expect an answer, within 24 hours, let me know what's going on. And you guys have always, you do always answer your
No,
phone.
and I like that. I like working with the scrubbers that I have because they, on their business card, they put their cell phone. So they're not an 8 to 5. And if you have an issue at a different title company, they're gonna help you. They're not gonna be, it's not with us. It's not at First Integrity. I'm not gonna help you. If they can help in any way, we're gonna help you. But I do love that our scrubbers are. They're gonna answer their cell phone if it's on the weekend after hours. And our agents don't take advantage of it. But if they need help, we're there to help them out. And that's me too. My cell phone. If you need help on the weekends, I'm gonna answer. If you need a net sheet. I'm going to be there to help you out too because I have the app and I can help out.
Yeah, because if I get another 800 number, would I have to press 1 for
Oh my
Spanish
God.
and 2 for English, and then go through all the process. I'm like, okay, I'm not calling.
and then they don't answer. It's like you go through all of that, and then
I get so
No answer.
frustrated on that. So
Yeah, no, but it's good. It's good to have, like you were saying, it's good to have a good team of people.
yes,
Surrounding you, and your title, your lender, your broker, everyone in there, makes your life much easier.
you have to find the right team to make it, especially right now, right? Because we're all struggling. The business the rates are up and down. So, I mean, you need that team to help you out. You need to work with the right team that's going to answer your calls, provide information when you need the information. So,
Yeah, because the pressure is a lot right now.
Yes.
Everyone, the sellers, feel like they are trying to reduce their price and that they are letting their go. So there's a stress on them.
There's lots
like,
of
I thought I
stress.
was going to sell for this, and I want to sell for this. So there's a stress involved in that. Buyers, when they see the payments, it's like, I'm going to pay $3,000 a month, and and then all these issues. So you increase the stress on on the seller, on the buyer, and the
Yeah.
agents are not closing as many or as often as they were closing in good markets. So they are stressed, and of course title companies, everybody's like, and then you don't answer the phone, you don't make it easy. Then it just creates time bombs in
It
those
does.
transactions.
So let's work together. Let's help each other out.
Let's do it. Yeah, because that's key in this industry. Like I said, it's having the right team, and and I'm glad that you are here answering these questions for the
I appreciate
for the
you guys.
people out there, because many people do not know what they don't know. Sometimes even us as agents have to realize that our clients do not know many of these things that we were talking about. Like, we know because we're involved. I'm 24. I mean, I sleep, eat, and real estate all day,
Yes.
every day. But our clients don't. They don't know the contracts. They have never seen a contract. They don't know what title insurance is. They don't know, when you talk to them about rates or interest or anything, they don't know. So they are really trusting you to guide them, and having that team that is going to give them the answers rather than just push them aside, or it's important.
It is important. It's important for you to let everybody know what you do. I mean, I raised 7 kids in a 2-bedroom apartment. So if I didn't have that friend to tell me that I could buy a home, I probably would still be in that apartment. So if you're not letting your friends and letting everybody know what you can do and how you can help them, because you're an agent, you're dealing with different lenders, you know what programs are out there. So it's important for you to get out there, let people know what you're doing, because there's people in apartments right now or renting a home that they don't know that they could buy.
Yeah.
I didn't know I could buy, and I'm in a 2-bedroom apartment with 7 kids. But when my friend helped me out, I mean, that was the best experience. Like, for me, was to be in a house, and it was my dream home. Having a house with a pool and having my kids go out there, jump in the pool in the morning instead of the weekends trying to find what are we going to do, where are we going to go to a park. now we're able to enjoy our home.
Go to the backyard. Have fun.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah,
That's important for you
Yeah.
guys to get out there and let people know what you're doing.
Exactly. So, well, thank you very much for
Thank you so much.
coming to the podcast, and we hope to have you more often.
I would
and
love
your
to be
team.
here.
Next time we'll bring Caroline and
Yes.
Olivia.
And they can
Olivia.
answer all the escrow questions.
Yeah, we'll bring them over so they can answer more questions, more like in-depth questions about
Yes.
title escrow that some people and some agents have out there, because even it's not only the people or the consumer, but many times the agents, that they have those questions, and now they have the answers.
Yes.
With the professional people that you guys work with. So thank you, Gloria.
Thank you so much
Danae.
for having me here.
And let's do it again.
Absolutely.
All right.
Awesome.